So welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild. Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the experiences and memories that playing board games with friends and family can create. On this episode, we're going to be talking with Dan and Connie from Steeped Games. How are you both doing today?
Great. How are you doing?
Good. So I know you guys have a new Kickstarter coming up, so we could probably start off with that, but I'm really interested in talking about your older game, Chai. But if you want to go ahead and start off with giving us a little bit of pitch on the new Kickstarter you're running.
Sure. Yeah, both games are in the wonderful, magical world of tea or chai. In many countries and cultures and languages, cha or chai is synonymous for tea. So for Chai Tea for Two, it's a dice worker placement engine builder. You have this little plantation board and you are getting your tea from the bottom to the top, from harvest to port. It's also a bit of recipe set collection of different resources. You're specializing in one ingredient, so you're trying to build an engine off of that a bit more, getting in the way of your opponents, of course, with your dice, and trying little combos with the cards.
Yeah, I really like that. I like dice placement games, so that was one thing that really caught me. And I like engine builders, so I like that you build a little engine in the game too. So I think that game looks really, really cool. And we'll put the link in the podcast notes so that you guys can go straight from the Kickstarter if you're listening to this. So we might come back to this, but I briefly wanted to talk about Chai because we did a playthrough of it and I loved it. I thought it was a great game. It's really reminded me of something that I could just play with my wife or my families and relax and have fun. And I really like the component quality that was in the game. What got you into designing games? We'll start with that. And what was the idea behind your first game? Like, what influences did you have to start that game?
Yeah. So to touch on the second one first, you said what influences. We've actually both loved tea for a very long time. So that actually did precede the board game love, actually. But we also started playing board games separately, probably around, 20 modern board games, probably around 2010, if not a little bit later. Daniel plays chess and he's a national chess master. So there's that influence as well from, many, many, many years of doing that. But yeah, I think it was really Puerto Rico a few years ago that we played with his uncle, and that kickstarted our love for board games and modern board games and designing and thinking about what we can do to create something new in this world.
Yeah, we both played, Catan or Risk growing up. I remember crying over North America falling into the hands of my dad and the loser has to back up. So stuff like that, or trick-taking games with grandparents. But yeah, Carcassonne, Catan, Ticket to Ride, and then Puerto Rico. The next week we bought 50 games used and it was all downhill from there. And I really enjoyed playing modern games more than chess for the time being, because I was at such a level to be like good enough to know that I suck against the actual professionals. So you'd go to a tournament for a week, you'd research databases and your opponents, and yeah, like it's like being a top 500 tennis player who just gets crushed and occasionally can win a few games off of Djokovic. Whereas modern board games, you don't have a rating system. Some of them do, of course, right? You can play apps and whatnot or Board Game Arena, but it was really refreshing where you have this really cool theme. There's strategy as well, and you can walk away from the table with some new friends and not care about the results as much.
Yeah, I always find they're more of a social experience.
Yeah.
So, before we get to the next thing, what game other than your own is your favorite?
I would say Imhotep. I really like that the boards are interchangeable. The game is never the same. And then I always find, depending on who you play with, strategies just completely change. Yeah, so I like that. It's quick, it's easy, it's good.
Yeah, social dynamics change if you're just doing your own thing or you're stealing another person's ship. For me, it's probably Concordia. It's kind of like the strategic Catan, super elegant. And we've had games that can go like 6 hours with the chess player friends because you're staring at your cards and you play that one card and it sets off a chain reaction and you might be like one coin short as a merchant. So you're trying all this mental math and figuring out who's going to win or not. And yeah, a little bit of fog for points really makes a Euro great, in my opinion.
Those are both awesome games. I especially like Concordia. So there's a lot of mechanisms going on or different things going on in Chai. So there's the difference between your actions of reserving an order or completing an order or doing the market action and getting the different tiles or getting your different ingredients. Did you pick up any of those mechanisms from a different game so much that you loved and just wanted to refine, or where those thoughts come from? How did you mesh it all together, basically?
Yeah, I guess a couple years years after Puerto Rico, we've played, hundreds and hundreds. We're trying like 2 new games a week sort of thing. Different friends till COVID happened. Now it's all online. But I guess for us, we're more like thematic experience before the mechanics. So even for our next game, we're like, how do you make a tea plantation into a game that will be family friendly, but still strategic?
Yeah, so we found a picture in a tea book of the tea process. And then we stared at that and said, okay, so what kind of engine can we build on? Or what kind of mechanics in general can we kind of use this for?
How can you abstractly represent realism? And tea clippers have historical realism to them. So for chai itself, we're like, well, let's make a game about tea that the design restriction was that my mom can explain, because she's not a gamer, but this is a game she would totally play. She's not going to gravitate towards Scythe, which is one of our favorites in its own right. So that informed how we did components. Right? We needed a hook with these cool little cups, especially for kids. They pick up the tactile bits similar to Azul, directly inspired. Those little tiles are from Azul, and they, clunk right into the cups, which is a delight. And then the tip does have an element of luck. Many family games do. Then you can like blame it on the game if you lose instead of because uncle is just a jerk and he always steals my lavender or something. So even though we're more like strategic gamers, we needed those elements to kind of shine. The pantry was a lot more complicated initially, but then we're like, well, people's frame of reference is kind of Ticket to Ride, just grabbing a couple things. Yeah, so let's make it simple. What are things you would add to tea, and let's throw them in a pantry because people have pantries in their house. But we're first-time game designers too, so this was all a new thing for us. We made a Google Doc and a PDF, and we just put it online for free. We had actually about 1,000 playtesters, blind playtesters, which is really cool. And they gave us tons of feedback. And from that, we kind of refined it, at least where most people liked it. But
I was gonna say, that is a lot of playtesters. How did you go about getting that many playtesters to like, I mean, I know you said you just put it out there online, but did you advertise it or?
Yeah, we started a Facebook group for the playtesters and then just invited people from different groups to come join and try it out. It was free, so I wonder if that's also part of it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it was a lot of dedication because chai is a lot of pieces, so they're literally, cutting out circles forever to get it done. But
it's more of a craft project. We bought a 3D printer. We made 50 reviewer copies, and then we just sent it to everyone. So it was more of like, there's this cool tea game coming, and we told people 6 months in advance when it would happen. So that was more of a hype that could build instead of 1 week from now, this is going to happen.
That's awesome.
I will say for your first design, you guys made a really tight, good game mechanically. I loved it.
The market's probably the freshest thing. That was more of a, a shower moment where you're like, hey, let's try this crazy idea. And then it came together. So kind of lucked out.
Yeah, I really like how fast the game clips along with claiming all the different orders and getting the tips and stuff. I really like how the game can still take like 60 minutes, but it doesn't seem like that at all because you're just like, oh, everyone's taking the tips. So the game just goes round around and it just moves. So I really like that.
Yeah, it had a really nice flow to it. I was gonna say, I think my favorite portion of the game was the market, and we all talked about that after our playthrough, the puzzle of it, trying to figure out what was the best way for you to move things around to get the most for your money, but also to not give too much to the other players who were coming up next. You didn't want to make it too enticing for them. So I really liked that aspect of the game.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's probably the sweet spot at 3 to 4 because then you can still predict a little bit what's going to happen. At 2, it might grind down to a halt at times. At 5 players, it might change too much. So yeah, we find that that's kind of the sweet spot, 3 to 4.
Yeah, I really liked it 4 player, and that's what we played it at. And any game that I win, it's good.
Hey, you have to
rub that in there.
That's awesome.
So as a quick aside there, the game is about tea. Your company is about tea. So it's Steeped Games and you have tea games. But what's very important about that is what is your favorite tea? And then do you do any special preparation for it?
Ooh, great question. Well, we actually met. Our first date was over Earl Grey. It was a cup of, what's it called? London Fog. Yeah. So it's Earl Grey with some milk in it and steamed, right? So,
and some honey.
Yeah. So that's pretty memorable for me. And then aside from actual tea leaves, I like rooibos as a herbal. So that would be my absolute favorite if I had to pick one.
Yeah, all the tea people are like, why'd you put rooibos in the game? It's not a tea. but we needed a red player. So it's a different plant altogether. We've learned so much about tea since starting the journey, because we were more like, Starbucks, David's tea kind of people. And now people have sent us fermented tea bricks with our logo engraved onto it. And like,
oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. Carney and Sons in the States, they made us tea influencers. So they sent us like 5 years worth of tea. And
we seriously have this big bag of peppermint tea the size of my head. So
2 kilograms. So that's what this cup is. We're trying to get through it. For me, probably like, just a good cup of black tea, Earl Grey, Bergamot is added, so you can get an Earl White, Earl Grey. There's all these new things that we're trying. So, and now we're trying to get to coffee down the road. Maybe a coffee game. Who knows? You can steep beans.
I was gonna say that was gonna be my next question. Was like, are we sticking with tea, or are we gonna branch out a little bit? Coffee is obviously the next step there.
And we were joking, just bubble tea. Everyone wants to bubble tea game, or
that's a good idea.
About beer, possibly like Victory Pints. Why not? There's a lot of stuff. Too little time.
Well, if you get into coffee, you have to get an AeroPress.
Oh,
they make amazing coffee. They can make Folgers taste good.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Not quite, but very close.
Yeah, lots of coffee games, but like, is there a family coffee game that you can play with everyone? I don't know. Maybe we'll have to figure it out. There's a couple out there, but the ones I know of are going to be like, Viva Java.
I don't even know what you would call it. It's a dice placement style game, but you're really just completing orders. And then there's Coffee Roasters, which is a single player game, but I don't know of any family like game that's similar to Chai that's a coffee game. So that could be a good place to go. I'd definitely pick it up.
Hey. So. Maybe the AeroPress or one of those cold brew presses is the main.
Yeah, the cold brew ones are good too.
I know.
I always wanted to do those vacuum ones where they make the coffee with a vacuum. So basically they heat up tubes, and if you ever seen those, like I don't know what they call them, but they have a little tube that goes into a little glass colander, and when it heats it up, the coffee goes through the tube.
No,
so it's really cool. It's supposed to be like very condensed coffee, so I'm not sure if I'll like it, but definitely give it a try.
We have lots to learn. I've had Turkish coffee that woke me up real fast. So
so one thing I like to ask is with your with chai or chai tea for two, there's always the things that you have at the beginning that don't make it into the final product. Something that gets cut. What is something that was memorable for you that you remember, like specifically, like this isn't going to make it, this has to get cut, and why?
Yeah, I think Daniel's mentioned it before, but we want the game to be accessible enough that people who are new to games can explain certain components of it. So there was one part in Chai where it was the pantry, actually. We were trying to simplify it and we just couldn't figure out how, but we gave it to his mom and we said, okay, so can you look at this and try to explain it? She couldn't explain it the first time around, and then we changed some rules and she got it the second time around. So a lot of that, there was one time we were at a convention, I can't remember which one, but we had some playtesters try out Tea for Two, and it was the exact same process. There was something really confusing and they just could not explain it. And they were like, oh, well, like, why don't you do this? And it totally changed the game. Do you remember what it was?
It shucks. There was an 8-year-old girl who's like, I love chai. This is so amazing. Like, Mom, can we come back and play chai tea for two? In my mind, I was like, oh no, I didn't make this kid friendly. So we changed a rule where when you grab a card, you get to play the card immediately instead of putting it in your hand and figuring out how you play it and order of operations and all that. So yeah, she was able to do that and made an engine, and huzzah, she had a great time, just like chai. And that like changed the trajectory of the game. And then Quinn's from Shut Up and Sit Down came. He talks to the vendors and plays around, and he ended up playing the whole game, and it was like, this was a delight. And the one part with the harvest board, there's a number, so like let's say 4, so you can take either 4 new types of tea, or you can bump up things with 4 movement points. And he's like, why don't you just let the player choose whatever they want? It's just flexible 4. And I was like, sure, why not? Let's try it. So another 50 play tests later, and that kind of made it into the final product. So I think it's like an interactive piece of art making games, and you don't have to have thick skin. You just got to realize what you set out to create is going to be totally different by the end of the day. So we're still tweaking little things here and there for like the second and third print run for chai and tea for two. And you got to say it's done at some point and just start working on other stuff. But unlike a movie where, it has a release date, maybe games are more like a radio single where, you can cut it at 3.5 minutes and it's a different product than the CD, or you can remix it a bit. And yeah, so we're just trying to have fun, and we love feedback because yeah, the game is not like made by us, it's by a group of people. People own it more than we do in a way.
I love that. I love because it's, it's the community who plays the game. And so by putting it out there enough, the community gets a chance to also be a part of making the game.
Yeah.
And I love that it's, it could be anybody from, like you said, from Shut Up and Sit Down, someone that everybody in the board gaming community probably knows and has heard of, and then a little 8-year-old girl who none of us had ever met. And I think that's so fun that everybody gets to mess around with it a little bit and play with it and make this game. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And on the box or chai, we put all the playtester names on it around the outside. So that was kind of our recognition to people for contributing.
Yeah. Shout out to Jamie Stegmeyer for that idea.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's awesome.
So I have to bring this up because I love the art in Chai, and I saw Star Trek in there, and
inspired.
Space Captain.
Space Captain. Okay, Space Captain. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that they are exactly that. Okay, so just
it's all good. And there's a wizard who likes.
It's a wizard, and there's my idea of Iroh. I'm assuming that's what that one's from because I love Avatar: The Last Airbender.
A wise man with fire and
yeah, the wise man with fire. Yeah, so I love the art. I love that all those little like Easter eggs that are in there.
Thank you. Yeah, our artist is amazing, and we literally just sat around saying, okay, well, what are some fun characters that can go in the game? And we really wanted a diverse crew of different people, so representing all kinds of different countries. And even, for us, it was important to acknowledge in Canada the Indigenous people, so we were able to have a Inuit girl represented in there as well. So it's just stuff like that that's really cool. Or even the other day, the really neat story, so somebody had messaged us on Instagram saying it was the first time that they had seen a girl in a wheelchair in a game, and the person themselves were in a wheelchair, and it made them feel so included in something, right, that they love and they play. So stuff like that. It's
family members,
play
testers. We had a champion of the week kind of thing, and then our artist Sahana drew them into the game, and why not? We don't have to make up characters when there's enough colorful characters out there.
Yeah, I liked it. Every card was completely different. I liked that a lot. So I thought that was a great touch.
Thank you.
Another mechanism that I really liked that I wanted to talk about was I really like when you ran out of tea leaves that the cards would be removed from the game. And I thought that was a really neat mechanism and a really neat thing that you had to watch out for. And I thought that was one of those things that was a really unique idea for a game. So I was sort of wondering, like, where were you like, okay, would it be cool if that happened, and what was the process for that? Because that seems like like I said, really unique and really neat strategic element.
Mm-hmm. For us, we had to figure out the resource groupings. Like most games, they only do 5 resources tops, but we have 6 in the market and then 5 in the pantry. And then there's money and also the tea tokens. So they're all like consumable things, tips as well, and the number of rounds. So we had to do some like just hard crunching of how many tea tokens are going to be used in a game. What if we had too many cards in the game? Then half of the players wouldn't even see their stuff potentially. So that kind of forced our hand into thinking, could we reduce the number of cards to make sure that some player could run out of tea tokens, meaning that we would focus on other players? Because if you're completing, let's say, a lot of green tea leaves, Connie is the green tea player, then she'll get a lot more extra income in the first few rounds. Whereas we need somewhat of a catch-up mechanic in rounds 4 to 5 for the black tea player who might not have any cards finished. So by the time that comes around, there might be 4 black tea cards on the board at the end, and then they'll gain a lot, and it kind of like brings a bit of a balance to things. Whereas I noticed and other playtesters too, cards were just not appearing. And sometimes in family games, just when you're completing recipe cards, not everything pops up. So we were trying to force it that way.
I didn't even think about that. That was really cool. I was just being mean.
Right. Oh, and we originally had everyone have $20 at the start of the game.
Oh, wow.
And they would just blow through the market, waste all their money, and then couldn't complete anything. Especially the kids, right? They were just like, all right, I'm going to buy this strawberry for $3 and this other strawberry for $1. And then people are trying to help them combo it, but they don't want to, and that's okay. So instead, you just somehow get $3 when you go to the market, which doesn't make sense when we were at Essen trying to explain it thematically, but it kind of makes it more magical of you are going to the market and you're selling your tea to the other people at the market. And now you have your $3. You can spend as much as you want, but it's a victory point for each dollar as well. So it makes you feel more like part of that in a sense of ownership. But
you get sent out as the errand boy and they give you $3 to buy ingredients.
Exactly. Yeah.
So another game, I don't know too much about this one, but Chai High Tea.
Yeah, it's an expansion.
Okay.
Game. Yeah. And so we got thinking, how can we highlight even more tea cultures? We really love the educational aspect and tying it into something bigger than just, a game that we play for fun. So yeah, so there's different cultures represented. I'm trying to think. Moroccan tea ceremony. There's like the Chinese tea ceremony before a wedding.
Yerba mate.
Yerba mate.
The Russian samovar. It's that big golden thing you'll see at different events.
Yeah, so each of those they attach to your player board and they give you a different gameplay altogether.
So like an ability that you can use once per round. And when you use that ability, it flips over and you can use the backside ability. So then you're trying to like time things to do special, maybe like a switch with the market with some of the things that you have. There's a couple of dice. So you might be able to roll the market dice and then gain that ingredient for a cheaper cost or something. You could use someone else's ability, different stuff like that. So it makes a bit more strategic stuff going on, and some nice art as well.
I love asymmetric player powers. They are awesome. So I'm really excited to see that go in there. And yeah.
Cool. It's still family friendly and light, not like Root asymmetric. So
I couldn't play with my little younger kids. Although I will say my 4-year-old just keeps stealing the cups for chai, so it's a little difficult.
It's better than the Stone Age, the stinky leather cup.
Oh my gosh, I always complain about that. I don't know if you ever listen to the podcast, but every time we talk about Stone Age, I talk about that horrific leather cup. And they put it in the second edition.
Oh no,
it's the same cup. It stinks.
It's as iconic as the Love Shack.
They couldn't like treat it or something.
You can't mention the cup on this podcast.
No, what? I sprayed that thing. It's oh my gosh.
Well, our cup, you're not supposed to put tea into it. It's not FDA approved.
No.
It's thermoplastic. You can try. Kids have been trying it, but we don't stand by it.
Yeah, no. I always get her to put it back there, and she wants to drink tea or water out of it. And I'm like, no. It's not a cup for you. And that is a lot of detail on those cups too.
Yeah, it was the guy who did the modeling for Jamie Stegmaier for Sight.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, and we were just really surprised that he was available to come and help us. Yeah.
Heriberto Valle from Mexico. We're like, hey, we need some cool cups. Here's some art. Can you make something? And then the next day he's like, what do you think? And we're like, wow, okay, a few little tweaks and we're done. Thank you so much. So he knew exactly what we needed. We 3D printed it with different material, and it had a nice heft and balance on the table right away. Normally you have to make a mold and then, fly it in from China and do some testing and whatnot, but turned out really well. It kind of has a terracotta look to it. Some people have painted theirs too, so it's been fun.
And he made it match our artist who did the cover as well. So
oh, cool.
Yeah, exactly. We actually had him, and then we had the artist who did the inside, Sahana, and then we had Mary Hasdick who did the outside. So we had all these different artists working together, but they were able to tie it well together. So
it was a learning step for us of how do you have multiple people doing the same game. Or for T4 Andy Bosley, who did Everdale and a few others, he did the main player boards and action boards, and he was able to, talented as he is, kind of copy the style of Mary and Sahana. So
that's great to hear. The game's got great art.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The other thing, and like just like Stonemaier games, you guys really paid attention to a lot of details in the game and a lot of quality. I really like how the market board didn't need to have those grooves going in there, but they're amazing to keep the tiles in there. So it's just those little things that add to the game.
Yeah, thank you. We played around with, obviously, without having the grooves in there, but it's just a very difficult game experience, right? Like things just start sliding off. And so then we just thought about what makes it smooth and functional and beautiful. And that's kind of, what we went with.
And Potion Explosion has the bowling alleys too. So, well, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like sliding them down there, and it's just really tactile feel to the game.
Thank you.
I was going to say, so, we've talked to a few people, plus we've done podcasts about Kickstarting. And so how has your experience been with this? Yeah. So how was that experience? What's something that for somebody else who might be listening, who's thinking about doing a Kickstarter at some point, maybe anything advice that you might give out?
Yeah, well, it is incredibly intense. Self-publishing is incredibly intense. Kickstarter is interesting. I think it really depends. Sometimes your backers are just wonderful and super, super supportive. And then obviously sometimes you have a few people who may not be as supportive.
Or they're more passionate about your vision than you are, like because we are so community focused. Some people are like, you can't have rooibos in the game at all, and we're like, no, it's a red tea, we like rooibos, like too bad, but we appreciate your support. Or we did our own art for the prototype, and some people actually like that art better than the professional art, and it was just, you know, our own graphic design, very clear cut and free images online.
Not awesome pictures for sure.
Yeah, but it kind of had like a, you know, I made this print and play, and the cards are square and cute and they fit in the sleeves, and I'm not buying your real game because the other one was better. Like, yeah, just like any form of entertainment, can't please everyone, including ourselves. Like, we just gotta send it out at the end of the day.
But overall, people have been wonderfully supportive and awesome. And yeah, but it is super intense because of the communication, the level of communication required to your backers. Yeah, and even just during the campaign, answering all the questions from different outlets. So like, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Kickstarter, emails, whatever it is.
You feel guilty.
Yeah.
If you go to bed and there's, you know, 50 messages in your inbox, well, it's on you. You're not going to get those pledges, and people like prompt replies and whatnot. So yeah, but at the end of the day, we're kind of perfectionists, and we're just trying to like enjoy, and you know, we're making these awesome games, and it's okay to not perfect every stage.
Yeah.
So,
but I do think the third time around we're a lot calmer than we were the first time around. The first time around, we didn't sleep much for sure.
It was Christmas.
Lots of late nights. Yeah. Missed out on Christmas a little bit that year.
Everyone was excited too. So we'd have Christmas dinner with 20 relatives a couple of years ago, and my dad would have the big TV and the Kickstarter page in the background. And he's like, this is better than slots in Vegas. Like
he doesn't play slots in Vegas,
but just like everyone rallied behind it, and it was exhausting, but really fun.
Yeah.
So
are you guys going to keep Kickstarter as a platform, you believe, or are you going to go into more, are you going to try to jump into the self-publishing waters without Kickstarter potentially?
Yeah. As a small publisher, we probably got to keep doing it for a while. We've used CrowdX as a pledge manager. GameFound was our last one. And this one, we've kind of developed the help of some apps on our web shop through Shopify. We'll be able to host the whole pledge manager there. So if that goes really smoothly, then we have full integration, kind of like Stonemaier Games has. And who knows, maybe 3-4 games down the road, we can like do the jump over, and that helps us, you know, pass on the savings to the community. And whether we're still making T games then, or we've kind of expanded a bit, like we got to play around with it. But yeah, we have lots of games in the works, too many. So we're trying for like maybe 2 to 3 a year. Some of those would be direct to retail as well, just because they're not as like glamorous or ritzy on Kickstarter.
I always do a passive aggressive tea versus coffee game.
Hey, there can be only one.
There can be only one. Yeah, you either rid the world of tea or coffee, but either way, I'll be sad.
Yeah, apparently, what's the special bean someone told us about?
Oh yeah, it's almost like a coffee
bean.
Cherry bean, and then they make it into tea. Yeah, it goes around the coffee. It's a fruit.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, they'll dry it and then make it into tea. So it's literally the best of both worlds. Starts with a C. Can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
From South America.
But we can still be friends if you're not a coffee lover.
Well, I used to drink a lot of, I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation, but Yun Yang, which is like half coffee and half tea. It's really popular in Hong Kong, but I can't get it around here anymore. So,
do you know how they would make it?
I do know it's specifically black tea, and milk and, you know, weak. I think it's somewhat weak coffee, but I don't know exactly. I just happened to be thinking about that and looked up a recipe, and I'm going to try to make it this weekend.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, every culture has different kinds. Like, I think Vietnamese coffee has condensed milk in it, and there's all these overlaps. And, you know, bubble tea, we're huge into that these days.
And there's pu'er coffee or espresso pu'er or something as well. It's really good though.
And chocolate, you can put it in whatever.
Chocolate and coffee is like perfect. And I've never had boba tea ever. So I'm gonna.
Oh, you've never had it?
Never ever. So I'm gonna have to try it.
Fantastic. Although there's a boba shortage right now. all
Seriously?
across North America. Yeah.
So the
it's
one time I'm ready to try it, like, nope, no more for you.
you might get lucky. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't run out yet.
I bet once the shipping gets back in line, there'll be an overabundance of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's called cascara.
Yes.
Cascara.
Cascara.
Ooh.
A
Its
bitter
profile
tonic.
is more like tea than coffee. It's a fruity floral flavor, similar to his hibiscus, cherry, mango, and rose hip. There you go.
I'm definitely gonna have to try that. I already have it up, so I clicked on it. So
I was gonna say, yeah, I've already
it's gonna
pulled it up
come
as
through
well.
Amazon.
There's also a coffee cherry tea. So they take the dried skin of the coffee fruit, just like a normal herb. Yeah, they might be synonymous for both, but it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to try more stuff. My favorite, I love jasmine tea, but I only like it when it's loose leaf, so I don't get that too often. But that's really good stuff. I don't know. Do you guys do much loose leaf tea at all?
Yeah, that's
95%.
Yeah.
You become a purist, and then
Yeah.
we have, I guess for my birthday, because I'm a tea nerd now, Connie got me a
kettle.
hot water kettle that does it to specific
That
temperature.
changes your life.
Right?
I
Those
know.
hot water tea kettles change your life. I have one back there that you can't see. Oh my gosh, they are so nice.
Yeah. We have an app, Steep Games Companion app, that has like tea timers, and yeah, I mean, we got probably like a good 200 different kinds. And for every birthday and Christmas, relatives and friends are like, you need more tea. So then we love gifting it. For all the review copies that went out for Tea for Two, had like 200 little packs of tea. So we're
Wow.
That's
yeah,
fun. I love
if
it.
you guys want some, just shoot me your address.
Do I want tea?
We'll
Sign
convert
me
you.
up.
So do you have a different teapot for every flavor of tea? Do you go that far? And
Oh, no, we don't. We do have many teapots.
We have,
I think we have 3 on rotation,
yeah,
on a daily rotation. Yeah.
because you can steep tea multiple times. Even like an oolong, it might be the 5th or 6th steeping. That's when it really comes alive. Most teas you just steep for like 1 minute or 90 seconds, 2 minutes. Whereas herbal, you could do like 5 to 15 and it's all good because you're just steeping all that cherry out. Yeah, so we might have like a black tea over there from the morning, and then throughout the
One
day,
for the night.
yeah, we'll do
that
3 different
Doesn't
kinds.
have caffeine in it, so
It can dry down overnight, and then you can use it again the next day, sort of thing. But yeah, there's so many different ways we're learning about things. It's a huge world.
I'm actually glad to hear some of this tea related information on top of the game related information. It's nice to enjoy your hobbies, whatever they are,
Yeah.
right?
Right?
yeah, exactly.
The World Tea Expo said that we are the most innovative tea company in the world, offering value to the tea industry this year. So we can put this little logo on our box and
Oh,
everything.
that's cool.
Yeah, so we have all these tea shops. We're like, can we get your game in? We were just in Banff and Canmore, right beside us. Went to a tea shop and they're like, oh my goodness, how can we order a couple cases? So we're figuring out like, how does a board game small publisher distribute in the tea world? And it could just take one larger company saying, we want to put a coupon in each one of your boxes, or it's just a fascinating journey. And we're not quite sure what we're doing, and that's okay, because doors are opening and we're giving people tea. So
I was going to say that I just installed that app, and that app looks amazing. So I'm going to put that in the show notes too. So
cool.
Thank you.
It's not totally done, but we have notes for 300 recipes that are tea related.
Wow.
So you could have like braised
Tea
duck
biscuits.
with a glaze of black tea. Yeah, tea biscuits.
Yeah.
Everything. Ice cream tea.
Yeah. The other day I was adventurous, so I made poutine pizza with the gravy had masala spice in it. So
Chai spice.
chai spice. Yeah.
How was that?
It was interesting. I like its taco pizza better. So
there you go. Taco pizza. You can't beat that.
yeah, exactly.
I always wanted to try. Have you ever tried coffee jelly?
No.
I really wanted to try coffee jelly.
Is it similar to grass jelly, which is a Chinese thing?
I'm not sure. I saw it from my daughters watch a lot of anime, so they are talking about it repeatedly in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So-
for the Chinese grass jelly, it's a black can that it comes into, and then you chop it into pieces and you put condensed milk on top.
They were putting condensed milk on it, so maybe same
Maybe,
idea.
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's delicious. I'm also a food lover, so
Yeah.
I'm here for the ride, just trying new things. And I'm the play tester.
I'm sorry, the play tester or the food tester?
Could be
Both.
Oh,
I do like some green tea mochi.
Mochi.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, every culture has different, desserts surrounding tea as well. So just super fascinating from like hard biscuits that Russian Cossacks would have.
And then there was the one in Mongolia where they squeeze it. I think it was the Mongolian.
Mm.
Oh, Nepal.
Yeah, and they let it like
Mhm.
soak in the tea, so it gets a little bit, palpable because it's just like flour
Yeah,
and water.
it's shaped in this the shape of your palm as you squeeze. the
Oh, that's cool.
stuff. Yeah.
And then the common pound cake, which is in a lot of cultures.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I love the. I was gonna say I don't know if you ever had pu'er tea before,
Hmm.
but I love the getting the tea bricks.
yeah,
They
that's
last forever.
totally. That's the same brick that our factory sent us. They're
Okay.
like, oh, you bought 5,000-10,000 copies. Here's a massive tea brick that has chai put right into it, and we're afraid to start picking away at it because it's just so beautiful.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, they have a big pattern on this one, and I was finally heck with it. I'm going to be drinking it, so I just started chipping it.
It's awesome. Yeah, they would normally be transported by camels, which is where you get like all these crazy smoked teas because by the fire they would get baked overnight. But yeah, Tea for Two has pu'er and yellow tea, apart from the rest in chai.
So
Minus
it's
rooibos.
more of a tea purist game.
Yes.
Yeah, I like rooibos tea. It's fine. I have those giant pretzel containers. I have it completely full of it.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I will never finish it.
Yeah, I'm afraid to admit that my favorite tea for a long time was chocolate mint rooibos, and I feel like the purists will judge me for that for sure.
Hey,
It's good, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
if you like Ticket to Ride and that's your game, that's cool. We're all no gatekeeping here for tea or games. For you guys, do you have like rules over can you have beverages or food at the table, or do you slap a hand away if they're reaching for a Doritos bag? Or
Doritos bag, they're dead.
okay.
They don't exist anymore.
Or Cheetos, no. But yeah, no, I have like snacks and food, and I have drinks and stuff. I mean, you gotta have fun, but you don't need Doritos.
In my house, it's just whatever. You can bring whatever you want. It's no problem.
Chicken wings.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just gonna have a good time. It would probably give James a heart attack.
On some games, I would probably have a literal heart attack. Like chai would be one of them because it's so nice. And I haven't got sleeves for it yet.
Blasphemy.
So until I get sleeves for it. Oh my gosh.
And then when I used to run a board game club before the shutdown, of course, I would have my dinner. I would finish my bites to eat completely before I would actually sit at the table with a game. I might get back to that food later if there was something left, but yeah, it would be clearly separated from me personally.
We just have, I guess, pretzels, and we had a few gatherings of a few hundred people at church and whatnot, and we would have pizza but like off to the side, and
Yeah.
like proper instructions, because all these gamers have come with their personal collections, and yeah, we just don't know the different rules for each game. So there's always that etiquette, I guess, with any kind of hobby.
The one guy comes with Doritos, you kick him out. Like, kidding. So what is the other than your own games on there, what is the most highest component quality game that you have that you're just like, this needs to stay perfect? Do you have a game like that?
Well, we got what's it called? Upgraded tiles for Terraforming Mars.
Okay, yeah.
The 3D tiles.
Yeah.
He printed them. And so I would say that's probably a pretty crazy high end.
Yeah, I guess we're invested
version.
now.
Yeah.
Imhotep was great. So we printed little purple boats because we had
Oh,
purple
that's cool.
3D printed spools, so it had to be used.
Yep. What else?
Wingspan, I guess.
Yeah, Wingspan.
We haven't invested into the aftermarket stuff, but yeah, there's always games where you could like have the player boards with an acrylic overlay. Again, Terraforming Mars kind of thing. We actually bought a laser cutter, like an industrial sized one, to make our own version of chai. It took a good 6-9 months, but it was a lot of fun, and we can now create anything like broken token quality, and not sure we'll do much of that like as a cottage industry going forward, but yeah, it definitely helps us with the 3D printer. We can rapidly prototype really quick.
Yeah, my daughter loves Terraforming Mars. Every time she comes back from college, we play a 4-hour game of Terraforming Mars.
Oh wow.
But that's one of those games, like the player board has to have those notched things in it. It's just we even like before we got them from the Kickstarter. I don't have a 3D printer. Before we got it from the Kickstarter, we used to not use the boards at all. We just had sheets of paper because too many times my kids get excited, they bump the table and just like
Game over.
yeah.
Connie's brother, he hasn't played a lot of games, but he loves science. So we both have the Terraforming Mars app, and then we'll hop onto Discord or a phone call and play a whole game in 2 hours. And yeah, like it's really interesting how games like that, they're loved by gamers who have been in the hobby for such a long time, and then people just jumping in. Like, it's very accessible. So we're trying to take note of games like that, which have like a strategic curve to it, but then you can quickly learn the rules and iconography and all of that. So yeah, we got lots of ideas and plans, and we're trying to implement them, and quickly, but well, and perfectly, but not perfectly. So
Well, speaking of things, ideas and things, and you've mentioned now an app, and we just did an episode talking about games that we wish had a digital version. Is that something that you guys have thought about?
Yeah, we have one signed with someone. We can't release it all together just because they're waiting on a government grant. But yeah, we're super stoked. Hopefully,
it's exciting.
By next year, and they're it's one of the big names. They're taking a shot at us, like a little bit of a risk because it's not top 200 game. But
it's not Santorini.
Right. Yeah, but at the same time, it is a cool family light game, and the theme really vibes with people. So yeah, really excited for that. Apparently it'll be on Nintendo Switch too. And
Nice.
Yeah, really cool. We hope, our first game wasn't our best one or most received. So, but even like Eric Lang, he says your best game is your next one, just because you bring all that more energy and history, skill, yeah. And you can't really replicate your first campaign, the energy that you spent into it, right? Like, as much as we try now on our third, now we have an idea for the platform. Maybe we'll sleep a little more. I'm not sure. We have lasagna in the freezer ready to go. Yeah, like everyone's first campaign or game, like that's their baby and they put everything into it. So
right,
we're trying to recreate that, but yeah, we're also trying to be mindful just to make, a good small publisher business.
We're also just probably older too.
Right? And baby's coming, so hey, that's another Kickstarter.
That's awesome. I'm so excited. It just sounds like you guys have really put, a lot of your heart and soul into the game. And again, I think you can tell it's a really fun game to play. And I think there, the more games that come out that are of this level and also for the family market, I think just makes me really, really excited to see. So
thanks.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
And you mentioned Santorini, but I like Santorini, but I would pull the chai out before I pull out Santorini at this point.
No shame. Actually, Gavin from Roxley, they're from the same city. So they kind of like coach us and everything. They have a soccer team on Tuesdays. Yeah, I've played Santorini probably like 200 times and then demoing and stuff. Yeah, to be honest, I don't always reach for chai on the shelf, playing it hundreds of times, or Santorini anymore. But yeah, all of these family games you can teach in like 5 minutes. Like those are the ones being played at the conventions and, family get-togethers and meetup groups. So yeah, something has to be said about accessible games you can play in like 30 to 45 minutes.
So that brings up something I asked a couple other people. When you're designing your game, you obviously play it. Did you get to a point when you were designing chai where you're like, I am tired of playing chai? Because you've had to play it like hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah, I think it was more conventions that did it because you're just showing the same game for, 3-4 days in a row and explaining it to, table after table after table. You just kind of get sick of the game and you want to go home and never talk about it again.
If we're honest, yeah. At Essen, we brought my mom along because she speaks German. So she was the booth mom, controlling the flow of traffic and people picking up their pre-order copies and all of this. And yeah, we had 4 volunteers helping and people lining up, 20, 30 people just trying to play this family game. And yeah, you quickly learn how to do your spiel very quickly and efficiently, and T-puns that you've memorized that appear like you've just said them. They roll off your tongue, but we're just going to move along right to the rules and perfectly terrific merchant over here. And like you get this kind of fantastical vibe going. Just like Barbie, who has her smile on for the whole show. And then when the convention door closes, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. That's the life of the publisher, I guess. But I mean, it is kind of worth it for that 8-year-old girl who comes running and like, I was waiting by the door for when the convention would open and this is my first game of the con, right? And yeah, like that makes it all worth it for sure. But totally the grind of it can get to you. My dad is a storyteller though, so he will spend 20 minutes explaining it and just have like a captive audience. And he's in the game, so he's telling family stories. And we're like, Dad, we got to keep going. Like the tea must flow, the spice must flow.
So your app has a lot of cool stuff in it, but there's some others that are similar. Have you ever tried the bird call app that can play bird songs from Wingspan? You scan the card and it'll play the bird song.
Never heard of that.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's a free app. It's really cool.
Maybe what we're building it out where the stories of each card is in our app.
Mhm.
But we never thought of like you could scan a card and then picture pops up
Yeah,
with
it's
some
almost like a
information.
QR code kind of
Mhm.
thing. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is really cool.
Great idea.
Oh.
We'll
I
have
don't know
to
what they
use it.
use for the technology of that because there's nothing special on the card.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's picking up the wording.
Probably, yeah.
That would be my
Okay.
guess. That'd probably be the easiest way.
Yeah.
There are apps already on the market that can visually recognize the on collectible cards for pricing purposes. I imagine it's something along those lines.
Could be. Image recognition, if you have the image, isn't bad.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Well, I thought it was cool. I like how much you have on your app. I have barely looked at it, and there's a lot of cool stuff on there.
Thank you.
I guess the scorekeeper is the most important one. We're just trying to do that for T for 2.
Yeah.
By the time it gets out. But,
I like having the physical one, so Nathan can see how much I'm beating him by.
right. And then scorecards with a pencil. We're like, well,
Yeah.
that's great, but
Yeah, here,
No.
see Nathan? No kidding. I'm picking on
see.
him because he's not talking.
If I could go back to something that we were talking a little while ago, you both of you have mentioned playtest groups and your awesome print facilities, right? It sounds like you've got a pretty well detailed like development cycle behind your game. Do you want to talk a little about what you were doing during development with all these tools and resources?
yeah, if you ask my dad, he was kind of like one of the dwarves in the furnace room with a big anvil,
Literally for the first campaign, he was just,
hammering at a
Hammering.
circle token punch for all the pantry
all through
tokens.
Christmas.
Yeah, because we made 50 review copies from scratch.
Yeah. So that was before we had, before we knew that we
Laser
should really
cutters.
just go through a factory and before we had the laser cutters.
yeah, just Avery label sheets and then a whole page that you'd have to punch out for all 50 tokens. And then I think there's 62.
And then I stickered the tiles.
Yeah.
His mom and I stickered the tiles, every single one of them, for 50 review copies. How
Yeah.
many are in each game again?
74 times 50.
Yeah, so 74 times
So
50 tiles.
3,500, and then they're double-sided, and
It was
you have to
awful.
cut them all out. and
Yeah.
So definitely a labor of love for the first project. And the 3D printer was going for an entire month.
Just printing the tiles.
Yeah, cutting out little thermometers and
Mhm.
whatnot. So we felt bad that like the occasional reviewer would miss one little thing. Like Rado had to print out his own thermometer, and you're like, oh no, I've watched this person's videos for years, and I send them my creation and then cringe. So we had some growing pains as a first-time publisher, and our second campaign did very well, and now we have logistics and growing pains with that and COVID, and that's okay. Like we're just trying to roll off the punches a bit and still enjoy the journey. But yeah, the production facility has got better. My mom's professional scrapbooker with my aunts, so like Christmas gift was a guillotine X-Acto knife paper cutter. So right, it's like the board gamer designer dream. You got your beautiful paper cutter, and we have 2 laser cutters, so we can do custom bits. We can cut out acrylic sheets just like Terraforming Mars has overlays, and yeah, we can do pretty much everything apart from the vacuum trays of a factory, which we have a friend who can do down south in our city. So yeah,
Vacuum trays are insane how they make those things.
totally. Yeah, it's just a huge like fun architectural product design of making games. Like it's
Yeah.
more about how is the product made than sometimes the mechanics behind it. Like
And how is it shipped as well?
yeah, how do you ship a box? Because if someone has a broken dented lid, it's going to cost you just as much to give a replacement complete game than the lid, because they ship the same volumetrically.
Yeah, that's the one thing I hear gets a lot of people is like just basically having to deal with like damaged components, missing components and stuff, and all the horrors that has to come with logistically sending like I'm missing 4 cards.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, Kickstarter is just the beginning of this whole process, right? It's all the communication, the emails, everything afterwards, pledge manager, replacement parts, that is the bulk of the work.
At Essen, we did pickup pre-orders for all of
Mhm.
Europe, and had 300 copies that got flown in, and they were missing a couple cards in the deck.
Oh
So
no.
people came to our booth, and we didn't make that clear too, like please come in the first 2 days or we'll sell your copy. So people would come in the last hour before Essen would close looking for their copy, but the booth is shut down and we have to get rid of everything because we're from Canada. So we had to ship out 300 separate replacement decks to every single person. And even today we shipped 2 player boards because the game came with 3 black player boards. It didn't have a green or a blue. So we had to mail 2 out, and that was $10 plus time, and can add up real quick.
Yeah.
So I know we kind of make fun of Asmodee for not doing replacement parts, but I can see why business-wise, like it's a huge investment. I think Jamie Stegmaier in his recent report, it was $30,000 spent just annually in replacements. So
I don't know which is better, because I mean, like Asmodee is a replacement game,
right?
So they'll like, if I have a single card with a scratch on it, they'll be like, here's a new game, send the other one back. That's crazy.
Yeah, just like electronics, it's more expensive to fix what is broken, and you just got to be efficient. So yep, a percentage is lost from shoplifting and broken pieces.
Yeah, I will say a lot of Asmodee's games, though, for some reason, like I get them and they have like a billion parts. I have no idea how they get them all in that box correctly every single time. That has to be logistically a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Pocket dimensions.
Yeah, I guess some human has to be checking those, so it has to be like crazy. I would not want that job ever.
I was going to say, I had just one more question that I thought I'd put out there, which is, again, just from your experience now making multiple games and going through all this process. I mean, if there was somebody out there listening thinking, I want to make my game, what would you tell them?
Yeah, great question. I think, really considering, do you want to go into this process to design games or to publish games? Because as much as we did both, they're actually two very different kinds of skill sets. And and if you want to do the design, then just focus on the design. If you have no skills in the publishing, don't try to go self-publishing, because it's
a learning curve.
It's a huge learning curve. So just focus on what you're really good at. Yeah,
we didn't really know what we signed up for when we're like, I talked to Roxley. It's like, hey, we got this cool idea for a game. And one of them was actually the innovator for the tips. They're like, why don't you throw tips in there? And we just played and it was awesome. But they said it takes usually 2.5, 3 years for a game to come out traditionally from a publisher. And we thought, we have a bit of a transition phase right now. Why don't we spend a few months just focusing on it and trying to get it out? So we went from the initial concept in March to launching a campaign at the start of December of the same year, playtesting it, hundreds of times with thousands of playtesters, and it just kind of came along, and we rode the wave of that quickly. That's quite an anomaly, but we also just had some soft skills of, we're wedding photographers and graphic designer backgrounds and websites, or editing catalogs for colleges and stuff. So those soft skills kind of helped, but we weren't really prepared for, how can we get game trays involved? Or if I'm completely honest, we didn't even have a quote before we went to the Kickstarter.
For shipping.
For the game itself
for
as
the
well.
game too, yeah.
Yeah, we just talked to a few people. We're like, how much do you think this game would cost to make? Like just friends in the hobby. And they're like, well, about $60-$70. We're like, okay, 59 American. Why not? And then we got quotes like in February, and we're like, we gotta talk to a few more people. And we eventually found one that worked, but we really were swimming in the deep end. We knocked it out of the park in some areas. In other areas, we were just super naive. So if you're looking to self-publish, there's the Board Game Design Lab,
Jamie's
Barrett
blog.
Yeah, Jamie Stegmaier, James Matthey, of course, BGG, or just talk to some of your favorite publishers. We chat with Jamie Stonemeyer every couple months, be like, hey, what do you think about this? Should we be super niche in tea, or maybe try something else, right? People are just super open. Try reaching out. The worst thing is they can say no, just like a potential publisher looking at your game.
And now with Clubhouse being a thing, people should, use those new technologies, Twitter, Clubhouse, whatever.
Twitch,
TikTok. To just ask questions, and people are more than willing to share.
Yeah, we were chatting with Elizabeth Hargrave the other day, just because we're all in the same board game world. So reach out and do it often.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that.
Are you guys working on a game? There's a game in every gamer, so.
Not this guy. I am right now perfectly happy to play games and run Dungeons and Dragons. I'm good.
Awesome.
I have a game that I've been designing for the last 5 years. It'll probably be always designing it. So that'll be the life of it.
Cool. As long as it's fulfilling it.
I don't know. I'm very protective of it. I don't know that I'm good at it. I just like it. So I don't necessarily want any input. So I just want to play with it.
And that's totally a part of it. It's super vulnerable because it's your creativity that other people are going on to BGG and rating or leaving you comments for. And
I don't want anyone to tell me my baby's awful. So I'm just like, you know what? It'll just be mine.
Absolutely.
And we didn't know that, I guess, quickly about chai, it being so deluxified, that would be controversial. So
really?
Yeah, totally. They're like, this is the most overproduced thing next to Wingspan. We're like, that's a great compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
right? But other people, it's like worst game ever. Other people, top 3 of all time, play it with grandma every birthday. Like, yeah. So
it just, it's a wide range of opinions, and you're really exposing yourself out there, putting this
it's all
out
good.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for the cost of chai, you're getting a really good value with the component value. Games in that range, that cost range, don't even have near the component quality that your game does have. Like that's why I like Stonemaier Games so much. They put a lot into the quality of the game. That's why I like your game so much, because you put a lot of quality into the games. It says a lot about how much the company and the designers and care about a game, and it shows how much love they put into the game by the quality of the pieces. And basically it shows with the different art that you have on the cards. It shows just throughout the whole thing, because it's just not like you have high grade pieces. You have integrated art, you have integrated in the molds of the cups, in the cards. It's all shows how much you care about the game, which makes the game more valuable. So I'd say, like, for how much the game costs, it's really a good value.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, Jamie's the example. So
yeah,
I'll aspire to be him.
Also, table presence is more and more important. It's like you can have like low grade components and nobody's going to buy the game if they don't look at it and are immediately attracted by these really nice components, especially with Kickstarter.
Mhm.
They're never going to try it in the first place. So you can have the greatest game, but just not sell it all.
absolute
Yeah.
shiny. Yeah.
And art, right? So Parks or Everdell, it just pops out at you, and
Photosynthesis.
photosynthesis. So that's what you want on your table.
But the important thing is that those components are integrated. They're not just like extra, which is definitely a big problem with Kickstarter that I'm finding. And I'm glad you stayed away from just adding and adding and adding.
Yeah, always the temptation.
I will say Everdell has the best component ever, and it's those squishy berries. Those things are awesome.
Yeah. Well, we researched it's thermoplastic rubber. So
Okay.
if you do a bubble tea, hopefully no one steals it yet.
Or
but
an animal game down the road.
yeah, stuff like that. Like that is an amazing thing. In Honey Buzz as well. They have it for the honey pots.
Oh, really?
Yeah, same factory.
Yeah, that stuff's amazing. So next game after this one.
That's right. Remind us right when you release yours.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
That's a takeaway. You gotta let your friends play it.
It's still sitting over there. I got it. Yeah, we'll see.
No pressure.
Well, you got 2 months.
Till you visit. But yeah, I'm a big area control person, so it is an area control game, and I love Eric Lang and his design styles. So it takes a bit from those too, and I have my own little take on it. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that the time this podcast comes out, you'll still have there'll still be 14 days left of the Chai Tea for Two Kickstarter. So we'll have the link in the notes there. Please go ahead and check that out. And like we're saying, Chai Tea for Two is a 1 to 2 player game that has dice placement.
We're just, trying to have fun. We're fulfilling our last campaign at the same time. So, and a baby's on the way. So, hey,
Yeah.
just life is awesome. We're drinking more tea.
And sleeping.
Yeah. Like we get lost in the weeds sometimes trying to perfect something, like the little dice trays. They're from a furniture factory. So
Oh, really?
yeah, there's like all
That's
these
cool.
fun little things we're trying to play around with and innovate. So yeah, if you're joining the campaign, like welcome to the community. And regardless, we just hope that people enjoy playing games and that it creates places where, yeah, we're all having fun.
Yep. And I will mention that on your Kickstarter page, there is a link for Tabletopia.
Oh, right.
So you can play the game. I highly recommend trying it out. Probably like it, and then back it.
Quick question, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Okay.
go for it.
Go for it.
So for Chai Tea for Two, is there going to be an option in the Pledge Manager for people who don't currently have Chai to pick that up as well?
Yeah, so we've just made it easier. If you pledge $1, you have full access to the whole catalog.
Ooh.
And because this is releasing in a few days, we actually will have 12 dice trays that'll be available. So our artist, they're being so popular that we reached out to her and she just made 10 new ones over the weekend.
She's amazing.
So the furniture one, they're flying in some new ones in a week and still figuring out pricing and whatnot. But yeah, 12 dice tray type things that components can go in, playing Scythe or whatever. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love dice trays.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it from us. And I
Yeah.
hope you guys enjoy more tea in the future. We'll try to woo you
Yeah.
over some samples.
Yeah, definitely keep in touch. Like your games. I like tea. I like coffee. So if you ever want to talk about any of that, I'm always up for that.
Final question for us, actually. If you ever could have an inspired coffee or an inspired tea that's board game related, what game would it be and what would the flavor be?
So for example, like what would a Terraforming Mars coffee or tea be?
Yeah, or an Eric Lang Blood Rage beverage.
Blood rage.
Blood rage beverage. I'm thinking beer or ale. But terraforming Mars, I would think space. So it'd probably be some sort of freeze-dried coffee bean, which might be actually pretty neat to try because I don't know how freeze-drying a coffee bean would change the taste of it.
Yeah, it would be.
So it might have a unique taste.
Dusty, just like Mars.
I think for our dad, it'd have to be the Scythe coffee, which would be Scythe tea, actually, which would be Lapsang Souchong.
Yes.
Do you like Lapsang Souchong?
Yeah, just for the name. And there's a friend making a chai wrap, and we're like, you can make a wrap, but it has to have Lapsang Souchong in it. He's like, not a problem.
Every time I drink that, it's like a campfire has attacked me and it won't leave.
It actually sounds kind of good. I've never heard of it.
Some
before.
people love it. Like my dad loves it, and it's fine. It's just a heavily smoked tea.
Yeah, it's like drinking warm tar.
Nah.
No, it's not quite that bad.
No, it's just very strong with the smoke flavor.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan or Peter?
I'm stumped on this one. I'm not sure.
No worries.
Yeah, I was trying to look at my shelf earlier to come up with ideas, but yeah, I'm drawing a blank, sadly.
When I get Onken, I'll probably get like a Kenyan AAA or AA coffee and drink that with it. Or like Ethiopian coffee is really good too.
Perfect.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, we'll send you guys some tea samples. So.
Oh yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for connecting with us. It was a lovely evening chatting.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck on the Kickstarter campaign. You're already doing great.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Board Game Geek Guild 2989, or our website at tabletopgamingguild.com. Don't forget to like, follow, and/or subscribe. Tabletop Gaming Guild is a product of Tabletop Gaming Guild LLC. All rights reserved.